I think we just have to enjoy the moment. We just have to be present in the moment, especially when it comes to, parenting. I feel like being present is so much more important than them checking all the boxes, best connections, right? But when we lose that and we say, no, we just need to move on to something else, you just lost the moment of connection. Maybe not with you, but with the child that's still building their memories of you, right? So it's learning to stay in the moment, appreciate the moment, even though it may not be what's on the agenda, right? But appreciating the moment and saying, it's okay. It's okay. Let's take a moment and sit on what you just said right now, rather than brush it off and say, you need to go do your chores. You work for it, you received it,
Totally.
So I say that because in order to remove or change situations like a toxic environment, it first has to start with us, because you can't control somebody else, right? So, and for it to start with us, it has to start with love. For it to start with love, it has to start with God,
I like
So
that
right. So head is like going
back
back to the source. You know what I mean?
We're calling this episode Rhythms, and we're saying rhythms is about formation, it's about pace, it's about intentional living, it's not chaotic. You'll see more about the chaos angle, but it's about learning a different kind of rhythm where possible and walking in step with that. So we look forward to engaging with you on this episode and hope you enjoy it. Our guest today is Pastor Erogbogbo. Welcome to another episode of the Talks With podcast. It's Abisoye Lana here, and I'm so excited to have an amazing guest on the podcast today. Her name is Pastor Erogbogbo. Well, her name is Erogbogbo. I feel like that's where the laughter came from. The giggle came from. That's not my name. But you're welcome, sis.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. She is the quintessential beauty. And I'm always so envious of your closet. I just have to say that again.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And like I said, when you get to the closet, you'll be disappointed. You'll be
true.
like, where is it?
Invite me in first. Let me be the judge of that. This episode, we're calling it Rhythms. And, you can see how we started already. It's all fun and games until we hit you up very quickly with the serious stuff. But in any event, before we get into it, this is the Talks With podcast. And our handle on Instagram is the Talks With Pod on IG and the Talks With on Spotify, Apple Music, and on YouTube. So what does rhythms look like? What are we dancing to? What is this all about? So rhythms is really about formation. It's about pace. It's about intentional living. It's not chaotic, right?
Yeah.
Rhythms are often beautiful. It looks different to each person, and there are various types of rhythms and all of those good stuff. It's about learning the rhythm of something. Here on the Talks With podcast, I always say we're not afraid to jump into all of the conversations that are going on in the world. But our perspective is always godly, is always, with the backdrop of Christ. And that really is the rhythm to which we want to talk about today, right? Is it possible to walk in step with Christ, even as a mom, as a wife, as a sister, in all of the capacities that we're called in? So that's what we want to talk about here today, especially as we think about, International Women's Month and, just coming off of that. We're going to start with some fun icebreakers, shall we?
All right,
let's start with that. Okay.
Let's do it.
Let's start with that. So if your life currently has a soundtrack, just think about it for a minute. What are you dancing to? Is it gospel? I know you told me about a song. I'm privy to something, but I'll let you share. What is that looking like? Would it be a calm instrumental?
Mm,
Would it be jazz? Would it be something fun and upbeat? Would it
mhm.
be Afrobeats?
Yay. Yay.
What is the current soundtrack of your life looking like if you had one?
So, I think kind of to the conversation we were having just before we started the podcast. Right now, I think the tune, just with the way things are right now in my phase of life right now, is more of, the song that says Christ is my firm foundation,
Mm.
the rock on which I stand. When everything around me is kind of chaotic, it's shaking, right? Like nothing seems to make
I've
sense.
never been
Oh my
more
gosh. If I
glad.
had a good singing voice, I'll go for it.
I don't even care right now. Sometimes your voice is breaking and you're
But you're
like,
just like, Lord,
Jesus.
help me. What is this? So I think, with everything we work, with family, with, everything else that, we're involved in, I think that's really, at the end of the day, the song I'm just like going to bed with, like,
Yes.
Lord, grace, help
Hmm.
me. It's you. And I'm sure a lot of women can attest to that because we are constantly doing multiple things, right? Um, if if I wanted, if I could pick a song
Yeah.
that I would rather, be my life be kind of mimicking right now.
Yes.
This is weird, but you know that song that goes juggler 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 juggler. I feel
Whoa.
like yeah,
Are you serious?
because I feel like I'm
That's almost head thumping.
exactly
That's almost rock. It
right,
sounds
right.
like
I feel like getting up with
oh
that
my
kind of,
goodness. Yeah.
mode and with that kind of rhythm,
Mm-hmm.
it almost signifies, you know, getting things done. Things are
Mm.
moving.
Let's
You are
go.
going for it. You are
Let's
getting it
do
done.
it.
You are hitting it.
It's motivating,
It's
right? It
very
gets you, yeah,
motivating,
it
and you're
gets you
going to bed, you're
going.
like, yes, yes. So ideally I think that's where I would like to, get to,
Yeah,
but I think right now it's really just moment of grace,
yeah,
surrender,
yeah.
help,
I love that.
yeah.
I love that. So I hear you just talking about it being situational.
Yeah.
And listeners of this podcast know I feel like that's my favorite word to use. Situational. But isn't that life though? Life
Yes.
is all
Yes.
about I can't bring in just a head knowledge into something that is kind of forming in
Yeah.
real time.
Yeah.
You meet it where it's at or
Yeah.
how it's, unfolding. So there are times where it's the juggler, and it's sometimes where you're like, I've never been more glad
Yeah.
that Jesus is my firm
Hey.
foundation. I have a solid ground
Mm.
underneath me. You're
Yeah.
grounded.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you're sinking, even if the reality looks like that's what
Yes.
you're going through.
Yes,
Thank you
absolutely.
for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, great icebreaker, but as a mom, we
Mm.
have so many dimensions to us.
Yeah.
As a wife, the same is true.
Yeah.
Because and let me explain a little bit here because, you know, as a mom, someone may be thinking, what do you mean?
Mm.
But if you've got more than one child,
Mm.
then you're parenting
Yeah.
in different styles,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So your dimensions are even different as a mother,
Right.
right?
Right.
And then as a wife, you have to meet your husband where they're at.
Right. Right.
Sometimes they need you to be mom.
Right.
Sometimes they need you to be a lover, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
just so there's so much depth
Yeah.
and complexity to us as women,
Yes.
right? Okay.
Yes.
So are you, as it relates to all of those rhythms,
Yeah.
the flows of your life,
Mhm.
are you intentional with them? And let's start with parenting.
Mhm.
How intentional are you
Mm.
with parenting?
Mm.
And I know you have more than one.
Ah,
You
I have
have more than
three.
one.
um. So, am I intent? I try to be right. I try to be.
Or are you accidental, right? Or are you a situational person, like I said?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I'm more I try to be more intentional,
Mm-hmm.
more strategic,
Mm-hmm.
more planned in my
Okay.
approach to
Is that your
things.
personality?
That's my
Okay.
personality, right? I remember when, when had my first son, and I was so intentional about his sleep pattern, is, like his routine. I was super intentional about that. And somebody else asked me, said, he started to sleep very quickly,
Oh,
started to get
really?
into a. Very
Oh,
quickly,
wow.
So a lot of people say, how did you do that? Tell me how you did that. I say, it's my personality. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Now, I know what I needed to get out of it, because I needed to get into a sequence or a
Mm-hmm.
rhythm of things with
Mm-hmm.
him, right? Or with our life, right? That motivated me. But for somebody else, that may not be it.
Yeah.
That may not be your motivation. That you may have a different approach to how you handle things. So for me, that's how, my personality has played into, how I parent, my kids, how I'm present in my home. It's more systematic,
Yeah.
in nature,
Yeah.
and that's just the way,
You're
that's
programmed.
that's the way I'm programmed. That's the way God has wired me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I, sometimes when I want to take a different approach, God tells me, look, there's a reason why these kids have come into your household specifically, because I need them to have the touch that I have given you for their own life,
Mm-hmm.
which may
Mm-hmm.
be different from any other person. So whenever anybody asks me, so how do you, I say, well, this is how I push things,
For me.
because
Yeah.
this is how God has wired me as an individual, and this is how my house runs generally, right? So when it comes to intentionality, for me, I feel like it's very, very important to be intentional. I feel like God blesses the work that we put into it. We may not get it perfect. We won't get it perfect, let's just be honest, right? But it's the work that we're putting into what we do daily with our kids that God now puts his own blessing upon and says, I'll bless the work of your hand, with these children, right? Because as we all know, we're just custodians of these kids, right?
Absolutely.
It's God that owns
Absolutely.
them, right? So it's kind of like, all right, with what I know and what God has given me, I need to be super intentional in the daily interactions with my children.
So, what about for the parents that is saying, I get that. And I think there's a part of, there's an understanding as we opened up the episode, because we said rhythms is about formation.
Yeah.
You have to be you must be intentional in order to put something in a formation. Think about the
Yeah.
military a little bit,
Yeah.
right? Or even a dance routine, right?
Yeah.
But what about ad hoc instances? What about, and maybe I'm leaning more into that, right?
Yeah.
Because I talk about this situational things. I feel like, you match something with the same, maybe not necessarily with the same energy, but you deal with things. You can flow outside of routine a little bit
Yeah. Yeah.
based on what's going on in that moment.
Yeah.
Do you find that, and sometimes in chaos,
Yeah.
beauty can erupt. Seriously, beauty can erupt from
Yeah.
chaos sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm just
Yeah.
saying,
Right,
right?
right, right.
Because
Yes.
our listeners are so diverse,
Yeah.
and they're like, yes, I get that, good for you,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
in my life, it's not that structured.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not that perfect,
Mm-hmm.
even.
Mm-hmm.
What can you say to those listeners?
Yeah.
Because I can speak to that, I wasn't, I tried to be that parent. I tried to be that mom that was like, okay, we have to create a sleeping pattern and a routine. And I thrive in routine. I'm
Yeah.
actually more, I lean more towards what you describe.
Yeah.
But there just sometimes I'm like, oh, I throw my hands up and I'm like, I
Yes.
just throw the towel in. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay,
Whatever.
have it
Right.
today. Right. So don't those seasons or those times create at least memories that are just
Yeah.
cherished
Yeah.
too, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that question. You know, the by nature I'm more structured,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
By nature I'm more structured. But you know, I genuinely envy people that are less structured
Oh, I
because
know.
I'm like, how do you do that and it doesn't,
It's
you
not
know, it's not
overwhelming. And
overwhelming.
somehow it lands so
And it worked
beautifully.
exactly. I'm
Yeah.
like, there's no way,
Organized
right?
chaos.
You know what I mean? Like I do envy that, but it shows the uniqueness of each and every
Each.
of each person
Mm-hmm,
and how
mm-hmm,
God has wired us and
mm-hmm,
how
mm-hmm,
He just
mm-hmm,
brings all of us together to make this world beautiful,
mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm.
Even in the kids that I have, not all of them. I can identify the ones that are kind of like
We're not
me.
naming
We
names.
won't name names here, and they're the ones that are just kind of like outside, the line, and they're like,
They color
you
beautifully
know,
outside the
and they're like,
box.
can't we just do it this other way? I'm like, it's not fitting into the box, my dear, So it's having to learn that, look, it's not just going to be this way. And
Mm-hmm,
even I, as a mother, adjusting to if the kids I'm having,
mm-hmm,
trying to put them in this,
mm-hmm. And this
in,
bubble.
in this bubble
Yeah.
or in this straight
Straight
line,
line. Yeah.
but now learning, no, it's not going to work that way. I have to adjust and adapt to the beauty this child that came from me
Yeah.
is bringing to the home.
Hmm.
And
I
hence,
like
the
that.
moments of
I
having
like
to
that.
learn that the moments where
I like
we
that.
wake up on a Saturday and we had this routine and we say, you know what,
Not today.
not today. What do you guys want to do? And at the end of the day, we're like, it's okay. The world did not fall apart. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, we had more fun. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yes.
So for me, that's a learned behavior, and I love it so much. Of course, the next day we jump right back into the
Of
routine.
course. I was about to say, I'm thinking through the lens of my children.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, okay, so we're going literally crazy right now. But
Right.
they know the next morning
It's
it's
like,
like,
all right, we're back.
guys,
What's all
we
this?
become militants
Yeah,
again.
exactly. It's like what it's like. So don't we? No, you don't. It's okay. Let's all just do whatever today.
Mm-hmm,
Let's
mm-hmm,
go out. What do you guys want? You want to go on an ice cream run? Do you actually just want us to go to like a fun park?
mm-hmm,
Just
mm-hmm,
do something out of the routine,
mm-hmm,
and we
mm-hmm,
just spend the day like that. Oh, and then of course the next day is like, what are you guys doing?
mm-hmm.
And getting everybody back in line because by nature, that's kind of like how I'm structured. So to the instances where, it doesn't go according to the plan,
Mm-hmm.
I think we just have to enjoy the moment. We just have to be present in the moment, especially when it comes to to parenting. I feel like being present is so much more important than them checking all the boxes, right? Because I feel like that's where you make the best memories. That's where you make
Oh,
the
yes.
best connections,
Mm-hmm,
right?
mm-hmm,
But when we lose that and we say, no, 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 we just need to move on to something else,
mm-hmm,
you just lost the moment of connection. Maybe not with you, but with the child that's still building their memories of you, right? So it's learning to stay in the moment, learning to recognize the moment, appreciate the moment,
mm-hmm,
even though it may not be what's on the agenda,
mm-hmm,
right? But
mm-hmm.
appreciating the moment and saying, it's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. Let's take a moment and sit on what you just said right now, rather than brush it off and say you need to go do your chores or something. You know what I mean?
A little bit of, some days it's the juggler, and then some days it's really,
Yeah.
an orchestra.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, the same question as it relates to being a daughter. I'm just flipping it. You're probably expecting me to say a wife, but I'm jumping very quick. And I think that's important because, okay, so sometimes, I've seen parents that, and I think that's why I'm going from you talking about your kids
Mm,
to being someone's child, right?
yeah.
So there are parents that are like, I've poured so much into my child.
Mm,
I've given so much, sometimes to their detriment as well,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then now this child just goes off and
And does
creates
their own thing.
beautiful music elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm really, I'm fumbling here because
Yeah.
I'm left with
Yeah.
not a lot.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that as well? Because it's a real situation for some mothers. I mean, we're
Right.
talking about a woman from
Right.
a woman's perspective.
Right.
They then just feel like maybe the beat can go on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to bring all of this references of rhythms and all of
Right.
yeah.
Right.
So they just feel like, there's nothing to dance to, or, there's no, the music has
Yeah.
stopped
Oh.
almost.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that as how you balance? I'm still a daughter.
Yeah.
I still have responsibilities there.
Yeah.
But then my primary responsibility now
Yeah.
is to these kids that I need to raise.
Yeah. 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 Um. To that, I feel like to the point where you said you feel like the rhythm has stopped. Um. I think you have to find a new rhythm. Seasons change.
That's what I was expecting to hear. No, it's a tough one. And I pivot from, the set questions a little bit
Yeah.
because as you were talking, I could just hear or see the picture unfolding of how
Yeah.
you're creating something beautiful in
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
home. And I'm like, okay, that was once your mom.
Right.
That was
Right.
once many parents.
Yeah.
That will be us.
Yeah.
Because, the love, the joy, the excitement,
Yeah.
the rhythm, and all of this beautiful symphony we're creating,
Yeah.
the kids would go and,
Do their
they're
own.
exploring
Right.
their world as
Right.
well. It's cyclical.
It is very
It's
much.
seasons.
Yeah.
Even the Bible talks about, I think it's Ecclesiastes 2:1 or 3:1.
Yeah.
There is a time and a season
For
to
everything.
everything under the sun.
Mm-hmm.
There's a time for this, there's a time for that.
Yeah.
Times will change.
Right.
And, a bit like what we just said, where, yes, there is formation, there is intentional leaving, but there are some times where we can't control the chaos.
Oh yeah.
It just comes at us. It sits in our
Yeah,
home.
yeah.
You have to deal with it.
Right.
It's in how you pivot.
Right.
It's in how you manage the chaos
Yes.
and get to the other side.
Yes.
And you know that something beautiful will be formed
Right.
from that chaos.
Exactly.
So for the moms out there that are feeling like, oh, this son, this daughter has gone off.
Yeah.
They almost don't have time for me now.
Yep. And
It's a new season.
It's a new and
It's a
that's
new
the
day
reality
and a new
of life.
beginning. Yeah.
Right. It's the reality of life. And I think we should, those of us that are not there yet, we should anticipate it. Right?
I love that.
We should anticipate it. And
Is
we
that
should
to mean because of the lack of anticipation?
then
Is maybe why they're stuck in the rut?
exactly. We should anticipate it. We should even celebrate it.
Yes.
Right? Because you have poured into someone, now they're taking the things that you have given them and using it to make or create another rhythm,
Ooh,
their
I love
own,
it. I love
with
it.
your imprint on
I
it,
love it.
right? So I think we should
So you're still there
You're
anyway.
still there.
There's a continuation.
You're seeing the new song
Oh.
being written
Oh.
with your name in it, all over it. So it's an extension of you, It's
So
a
you're
new
still
song
embedded in there somewhere.
Exactly, because you've done all this work within the season that they were with you, right? Now you're
Oh, I love
releasing
that.
them with your imprint. They're creating their own, and you're still there. Like they're carrying you
Oh,
on,
yeah.
right? So now we should
Oh, I love
anticipate it.
that.
We should celebrate it.
Mm,
It's like a child graduating college, right? We're like, it's coming.
mm-hmm,
Life is coming. You're
mm-hmm.
going to start your own life, your own world, right? And that's a beautiful thing. So now when we anticipate it, then we know that, okay, that's a season, that's a new season for them. That this is a new season for me. So what am I going to do about it? I
Hmm.
need to create a new tune. I
Oh
need to
my
create a new
goodness.
rhythm. One, I was talking to a lady the other time. She said, both her kids are out of the house. And for the longest time, she
Empty
pondered
nesters.
on, what am I going to do?
Hmm.
She went back to school. She said, now I enjoy learning because before I was learning just to get through the exam.
Yeah, yeah,
Now
yeah.
I'm actually learning for the knowledge,
For the
So now I'm like, okay, it's
ah.
sinking in. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
like, yeah, now, but that was our own way of creating a new tune,
Of redefining herself.
of
Yeah. Yeah.
pivoting.
So again, I'm going to move on, I promise. But and it's there's an ongoing situation, like a real life
Mm,
situation
yeah,
about this. I think that's why I'm sitting in it for a minute. But an analogy I can think on, and I thank you so much for sharing, for breaking it down the way you did. Because even for me, it's like, ooh, I didn't even think about it that way. So an analogy that comes to mind is someone that creates an organization.
yeah.
You're the CEO, you head it and everything. We can even talk about, I don't want to mention the car brand,
Mm,
but there's a car. If I was to mention the electric car, sorry,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
you would know what I'm talking about. But
Yeah,
the it's synonymous with someone.
yeah.
There's a name associated with it. But you only have to go into the company's DNA
Okay.
to know who the creators,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah,
the real brains behind it
yeah,
are.
yeah.
So that's how what you just described is you're not removed even from the life of your
Mm,
child
mm-mm.
as they move forward.
Right.
You're embedded in there.
You are.
You're in their DNA.
Yes.
Their story is not complete or can't be told
Yeah. Without
without
you.
you.
Exactly.
So you're still in there somewhere, and you have the
Exactly.
opportunity to then say, "Mwah,"
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
here I can go
Yeah.
here
Yeah. Yeah.
and do something nice, and
Yeah.
and you have more people rooting for you and
Right.
cheering you
Right.
on. So
Absolutely.
thank you so much for sharing that. I think,
Absolutely.
I'm hoping that that's liberating for any of our
Amen.
listeners,
Mm-hmm.
just feeling like, oh, I can't create something. Or as we think of rhythms, another
Mm-hmm.
analogy that popped to mind is, you know how you take an old song
Yeah.
and give it new life,
Ah.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
I forget the phrase now. Maybe it'll come to me before the episode is over. But you take something old and you reinvent it,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe an old artist and they put a new spin on it, and someone singing it is like, oh,
Mm.
it looks new, it looks fresh,
Mm-hmm.
until someone is like, let me tell you where that beat came from,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
from here and there, and
Right. Right.
it can be a remix. That's what I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
take something old, you remix it, and
Mm-hmm.
it comes out
Right.
beautiful,
Yeah.
but it's a new beginning.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I
thank you,
love
thank
it.
you, thank you, thank you so much for sharing that. All right. So, a follow up to the first question is, we're talking about this intentionality that is necessary for rhythms.
Mm-hmm.
It can also be accidental or situational. We
Yeah.
know that
Yeah.
if you can be built one way, because that's your preference based on personality,
Yeah.
right? Um, but you know that life happens, and I'm just going to rely on God
Of
as
course.
we do, learning the heart, the rhythm of Jesus, the heart of God,
Mm.
even as we carry on with our lives. But the next thing is, you know, a mandate, if you were to mandate rest for yourself, because reading, as it foils you,
Yeah.
it's demanding.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
Right.
burns you out.
Right.
You
Right.
know, rhythm is, rigorous.
Yeah.
It's at the end of a day of a rhythmic day, a day of movement.
Yes.
At the end of all of that, you are you need a place of rest.
Yeah.
So, what does mandated rest look like for you?
Mm.
Because all of us understand this concept of Sabbath,
Yeah.
but we don't always
Oh,
lean into it
Lord,
and
help
take
us.
advantage of
Right.
Sabbath.
Mm-hmm.
So, two questions. When do you notice burnout is creeping in?
Mm.
It's strenuous.
Yeah.
You dance. Maybe sometimes you're dancing on your heels. Maybe sometimes you just have weary legs.
Yes. Yes.
So the first question is, when do you notice when burnout is creeping in?
Yeah.
And what does a mandated day of rest look like for
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, Burnout is,
Israel.
oh my gosh, it's so real. Um, and I think it, it can happen within even a day, right? For example, you wake up, maybe you didn't get to do your normal early morning getting up routine. So you're already feeling like something has been taken away, something that really gets you started into the day, right? It's not quite there. So maybe you jump out of bed and you're go, 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 go. You work and handling the kids and your spouse, and maybe you don't even work from home. And then for those that from us, we have commitment of ministry and whatnot. And by the end of the day, you start feeling that anxiety, you start feeling that crankiness, you start getting short. You know that the grace is not quite there, right?
Is running
is
thin.
is
You're
running
running on
very
empty.
thin. When you start to see that your patience, you're getting short, you're not able to think clearly, even for that day, you're burned out. And that's why we have to hit the reset button and say, all right, I need to go to sleep. I can't do this again the next day because it's only going to get worse. Now, the one that happens over a period of time, right, is also real, where it's like you've been going, giving, 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 giving. You haven't really replenished yourself, right? You can't. You are running on empty. It's like your car. You are running on fumes. You haven't stopped at the gas
That's a
station.
disaster waiting to happen
You get
right
what I'm
there.
saying? What's about
Totally.
to happen
Yeah.
is a big crash, right? Stops you in your tracks. You have to spend more money to fix it. You have to get someone to come tow you. You have, it affects
A
the
different level of
you
stress.
get what I'm saying? So it's so once you start seeing that signal, say E, that's your indication. And everybody will have it in different ways.
You're saying we see the
We see
signs,
the signs.
or at least we should see it.
So we should have the self-awareness to say something isn't quite there anymore. It's like that indication in the car. Ding ding ding. There's
Oh, the
come on.
colors change.
Right,
It goes
right.
from what, yellow to
To
red,
red, right. So it's
green.
it's telling you, all right, we need to take a pause. We
Oh
need
yeah,
to
yeah.
replenish, we need to refuel, right? And that's the same thing for us mentally, spiritually, emotionally, our physical body. As intentional mothers, as intentional women, right? We're intentional about our career. We're intentional about seeking God. We're intentional about our ministry. We're intentional about our spouses, our marriage, our children. So we're giving heavily, right? So we need to be able to identify that indication
Yeah.
that says pause, refuel, replenish, so that you can go fast again, right? I don't know if this happens in other cars, but when my car is running really low, the heater doesn't quite heat up my car as
The
quickly.
heater isn't heating.
And then when I refuel, I'm like,
The heater
that
isn't
warmed up really
heating. Yeah,
nicely. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? So that's an indication that we're not giving at our best anymore. And we need to pause, whatever that pause looks like. If it's a, quick vacation, if it's a day to just rest. And it's interesting and it's needed because God has given us that example of the Sabbath. And you mentioned that, right? And like you need to take a moment to rest after all this work, after all this giving, after all this creativity. Take a moment to replenish so that you can have more to give, right? Because you can't continue to pour out of an empty space.
Yeah.
It will lead to a crash.
That's beautiful. So, in this conversation now, you just said about, you know, being, and you see where I'm going to because I'm laughing a little bit because it's a real phenomenon that a lot of women, grasp or grapple with.
Yeah.
So you're a mom, you're an employee, you're an employer, you're in ministry, you're in. Some of our listeners, some women, they're saying that I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how that's doable. I mean, for some of us, we've even heard, people say you can have it all, but maybe you can't have it all at the same time.
Yeah.
But is that a thing? Can I'm asking,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
is it a thing? Is it possible to? I mean, if I look at you and hear everything you just said, it sounds like you have it all. I, I'm sure perhaps you're still in rehearsals, right? I'm sure there is a bigger rendition that you're yet to perform. I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that, you're a mom because some people would delay being a mom because they're
Right.
chasing their career,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Some people would say we're not quite ready for ministry because, we don't have depth yet.
Yeah.
As a couple or as a
Yeah.
person. Is it possible? Is it a theory or a concept that can be burst? Right? Can we demystify it? Again, it sounds like you have it all. You have a
Yeah.
husband, you have kids, you're in tune. I happen to know that you're in tune with, your siblings
Yeah.
and you carry them along as
Yeah.
as best as you're able to.
Yeah.
Is it possible? Because I try to tell people I'm of the opinion that you can have it all, but give yourself grace. I would never
Oh
say you
yeah.
can't have it all at the same time.
Yeah.
I would say allow yourself not to want it all at
At the
once. I think that's the bigger thing
yeah,
because
right.
and be grateful
Yeah.
because if you're searching for this one thing that's eluding you in this season or in this time, then you don't appreciate everything else that you do have.
Of course.
And that is a milestone, a great one that
Of course.
others desire and is eluding them.
Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Can you speak to that a little bit for
So
us?
a long time ago, someone shared the concept of balance, right, with me. Or, when we say work-life balance, for example.
Yes.
So that concept, in this case, not just work and life, but everything balance, right? And a lot of times when we say that, we imagine someone walking on a rope and carrying this pole and everything is well balanced, right? And you're just kind of
On a
walking.
tightrope,
You're
by
on a
the way.
tightrope,
It's a tightrope.
and you're holding this, thing, and there's life, there's work, there's everything, and you're kind of holding everything, and you're like, oh, I'm living a balanced life. And she said that's not usually the case. The case is you're living a balanced life, says you're paying attention to what needs priority at that moment. So you can't give equal priority to everything at the
At the
same
same
time.
time.
You know what I mean?
You can't give equal
Priority
priority
to everything.
to everything at the same time.
Right. So you are giving priority to what needs priority for this season, for this
Situational,
moment.
I keep telling
Yeah.
people.
Yeah. You have to
Situational.
look at, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
my marriage, okay, it's, I think where we kind of have a good rhythm going on.
Rhythm.
But I need to push in my career. So I'm going to put a certain level of rhythm in other places so I can give priority to this. You
In
know what
this
I mean?
season.
In this season. Sometimes it may not be your career and God is leading you to push in a different direction. So you kind of, not deprioritize them, but not, you can't give equal priority to all
Equal
of them,
attention to
right?
it. Yeah.
So they're kind of in a okay space, right? Where I can tolerate any kind of shifts within those systems, so I can give priority to this one that needs my attention in this season, right? And you
like
put
that.
things in place as well, where it's like, all right, maybe it's a young mother that has, a child to take care of, and they're like, okay, I feel like I need to push where my career is concerned. So you put things in place for, that child at that moment. You're like, ideally, I would want to be the one to do it all with this child, right? But because you can't put priority on both things at the same time, you're like, okay, I am okay with my mom, my in-law, my sister, getting a nanny to
But
come.
in this area,
Right. In this area, just, tolerate some of that so that I can push in this area. And so that's how I see, balance and the concept of having it all.
all.
Because for us as women as well, there's so much to us, there's different aspects to us, right? And my prayer is always, Lord, let me leave this world empty. Let there be no aspect of me that hasn't been tapped or that I'm not able to use it to
Amen. I
the
like that.
extent that you want it to be
Yeah,
used.
yeah.
So for that to be able to
My
happen,
fullest.
right, I need to express this, kind of kick it off, get it going, right? Oh, there's this other aspect. Oh, get that going, right? Now, the year that I get my, say, writing capabilities going may not be the same year that I kick off my
I
singing
love that.
capabilities.
I
You know
love
what I
that.
mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's how I see how, to put that notion of having it all to reality. It may not all be jumping at the same
Of
time,
course.
right?
It typically
And
isn't,
it
though.
typically isn't.
Yeah.
But you have
Yeah.
seasons where you are able to express those different angles and those different aspects
I
of
like
your
to
life.
talk about the concept of creation as we
Yeah.
think about, even this whole idea of having it all. You know, there's 7 days in a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
As amazing as eternity, as the world we live in is,
Yeah.
each day had its own designated time of creation.
Mm.
So it was the birds and the things on one day, it was the firmament and this
Yes.
on the other day.
Yeah.
It was, so we have all of these amazing things in the world today, but they all didn't come at the same time. So I always
Yeah.
that's where I always sort of allow myself to go,
Right.
because as a woman, and maybe this is a next question, as I ponder on it, are we our own worst enemies as women? And the reason I ask that question is because um, we can be too critical.
Oh, yeah.
A man will look at himself, at least averagely, right? Maybe not each and every man that walked the face of the earth, but the average man will look at himself and say, oh, I can do it. Data wise, they're the ones that will bid on 2 jobs above their pay grade because they just feel like I can.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the job that we should be bidding on, we think we can't get
Right.
it.
Right.
So are we our own worst enemies as we think about, oh, I'm not good enough. Why don't I have that? Or why don't I have that yet? I'm always quick to remind myself about God and creation.
Yeah.
Can't he? The Bible says that There is nothing,
Yeah.
absolutely nothing that I cannot do.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So he could have, right?
Yeah.
He could have just said, oh, all of these amazing things in my head. Let there be Adam, Eve, the lions, the birds, the firmaments, the sun, the stars, the
Yeah.
demarcation,
Yeah.
nights, day, right? Everything in between today.
Yeah.
And it would form and be just as beautiful.
Mm.
So I allow myself to remember creation and say, it's okay.
It's okay.
Maybe my day 2 isn't here yet. My day 3 isn't, my day 4 isn't here yet.
Yes.
My day 5 isn't here yet. And
Yes.
that's how I allow myself
Yeah.
not to just go crazy, like totally bonkers. Are we our own worst enemies?
Hmm.
As
We could,
women.
right. We could be, especially for people such as myself, that overanalyze. We tend to be so super cautious. Even people that are, like myself again, planners, right? We overplan the plan,
Oh, yeah, yeah. We bit it
we
down.
bit it down. We refine the plan. We put all the work into the plan, right? And you're like, at some point, execute.
Execute. I know. You can't keep
You
auditioning.
get what I'm saying?
At some point, the spotlight needs to come on, and
Right.
you need
But
to get to it.
yeah, like any day now,
Chop, chop.
So I think yes, we could be. And I think where it should start from is that self-awareness. Where am I shooting myself in the foot? Where am I stopping myself? Is that self-awareness and the vulnerability to even go there with ourselves. Like,
Yeah.
I think I'm doing myself a disservice in this area, and how am I doing it? And then now almost working against your natural instinct. Because for me, it could be I tend to overplan the plan. So
Yeah.
now I need to consciously work against that instinct to refine that plan one more time. So that means tell me, no,
No,
let it be.
yeah.
Oh, but what if it doesn't go
You're saying silence the voice of criticism in your
exactly?
head.
You need to shut
Let
it
it die.
down,
Yeah.
and you need to know what that voice is saying. You need to know what that voice is saying. You need to know so that you can recognize it when
When
it
it's
comes up. Because for me, who's a planner, it makes sense to check it again.
I know. Just one more time.
Just one more time. That makes sense.
Yes.
That totally makes sense.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
as someone that I'm like, yes, this is the area where I'm stopping, holding myself back. I need to recognize what that voice sounds like and what it's saying and say, I got
Ah,
you.
yeah.
And I need to work against that thought and that pattern and push to take action regardless of the voices that are kind of in my head and saying, no, check it again, are you sure, check it
Yeah.
again, are you sure, right?
And we sort of cover it by saying, oh, fresh set of eyes.
Oh
Just to
boy.
look at it one more time.
Right, so you have to recognize that voice.
Dot your I's
Yeah,
and
and cross your T's. Then
You
in the normal sense, of it, yes, that's ideal. Dot your I's, cross your T's. But then for someone where that is the place where you're holding yourself back, you're like, it's okay.
It's okay.
I'll move on with this version. Let's even push this version out, right? So I think, and it will be different for everybody.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You need to recognize where is it that I'm limiting myself? Where are these areas where I'm stopping myself? What does that look like
Oh boy.
for me? What is the voice in my head telling me? Is it fear? Is it anxiety? It could be anything. Is it trauma? Like,
Is it comparison?
is it comparison?
Oh boy.
Right? I need to know what that voice is. Is it those flashes? Comparison may not come to you like, oh, you're comparing. No, it'll just give a flash of somebody else
I know.
and how the outcome for that other person looked. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, you're doing something totally different. So recognizing that, oh, it comes to me like a flash. Now, so when I get it, the flash will still come. It's not like it's suddenly going to stop coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
The flash will still come, but then you recognize it that, oh, there you go.
I recognize
I
you and I
recognize,
rebuke you.
hey, in the name of
I
Jesus,
recognize you and I rebuke you, okay? Be gone.
be gone. And then you work against,
Yeah. Yeah.
you work against that, your normal
Yeah.
way of doing things, just to break through, right? Just to stop limiting yourself in that area.
And to be honest, it's not a self-will thing.
Yeah.
There's something always bigger than us that we have to rely on.
Oh, of course.
Because if it was just self-reliance and what I can do and self motivational
Yeah.
speaking and affirmations, that's not enough.
Yeah.
There is a God factor,
Of course.
you know,
Always.
in
Always.
all of what we're talking about. We started by saying it's about learning the rhythm of Jesus,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Learning. It was your husband that said it beautifully, recently, that learning, unlearning, relearning,
Relearning. Yeah.
right? That stayed with me. So as we learn the rhythm of Jesus, we're going to have to unlearn, some of our standards and, some of, the voices that we've become accustomed to that have stayed with us for
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
and then relearn what Jesus or God Himself is teaching us
Yes.
in
Absolutely.
His own rhythm and flow.
Absolutely.
So I've got a question, and I know our time is it's just running. The hour flies by so quickly, and thank you so much for doing this.
Oh, my pleasure.
So Pastor Damis Andol is at Your Marriage Journey on Instagram and on YouTube, and you know where the Talks With is. So I won't belabor that. But what about women just being our own, beyond being our own worst enemies, actually being attacking another
Oh,
woman? We've
Lord.
heard that's been said so many times, where it's like, oh, I don't want to be friends with another woman. They're just, I don't want to have to deal with the toxicity and all of those things. As we round up,
Yeah.
as we round up, you know, just speak to that for us. And yeah.
Yeah. You know, whatever, creates this I don't know, toxic environment, I think first of all we have to work on ourselves. We have to know that we are loved by God. We have to embrace that love. If we have that realization, right, it humbles us, because then you can't hold that love from somebody else, right? So in order to
In
break,
fact, you extend it.
you extend it, right? Because you are humbled by it, because you didn't work for it, you received it,
Undeserving of it. Totally.
So I say that because in order to remove or change situations like a toxic environment, it first has to start with us, because you can't control somebody else, right? So, and for it to start with us, it has to start with love. For it to start with love, it has to start with God,
I like
So
that walk
hence,
back.
right? So
Going
hence,
back
it's
to the
like
source.
going
Yeah.
back to the source. You know what I mean? So in order to change this whole, toxic relationship between women, and it's a real thing, we have to first change ourselves. We have to first extend love to those that are around us, to our friends, to our family, to our sisters, right? And then we have to know that we need each other. As I grow up, I appreciate community more
Yes.
and more
Sisterhood.
and more
Yes.
and more.
Yes.
Now, if I go around just, or we all go around, giving each other bad vibes, being jealous, not working together, how do we build a community?
Mm,
Like how?
yeah.
You know? So, like I said, you may not be able to change somebody else, but at the very least, let us be the ones extending love. Now, it's hard because sometimes you extend it, you get shut down, right? Please don't give up.
Hmm. Hmm.
Extend it to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
We need each other. We weren't built in isolation. We
Oh,
weren't built as
yes.
an island. And the fact that when we think about Christ, his main agenda is that the life of God that is inside of us will be spread to the world around
Oh,
us.
shared abroad.
You know?
Yes.
So
Yes.
if so let's change ourselves so that at the very least let the light of God that is inside of you be shared with somebody else.
I love it.
Right?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I wish we can carry on and just keep going. But Pastor Dami, thank you. I love you so much. And I love our conversation around the rhythms of
Yes.
being a woman, being a wife. We didn't get to even talk about career. We didn't get to talk about ministry. We didn't get to talk about
So many
life
things.
itself
Oh,
and the pressures of the world
yeah.
on us as women. But we didn't scratch the surface with social media. So I know you would come back and visit, but it's
Hey.
been an amazing hour. Thank you. And we've been talking about rhythms and intentional living and even some of the chaos that makes it beautiful and that creates something unexpected. But with intentionality, it just comes across, you know, fresh and beautiful and
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for
I
having
appreciate your
me.
time. It's our show.